Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. Yes, this is an Outlander edition, and you are looking at a beautiful, beautiful scene that is from the series. It's what is called the ambient stream. So just imagine you're on Fraser's Ridge and you are blessed enough to have a view like this when you go out hunting or fishing or for a walk with your honey bear or your honey mare. So I am going to continue with a giant spoiler alert part 2, which is in partnership with part 1, which was released just a day ago. I will try to remember to link that video to this one. So this is an attempt to basically spoil the entire season, but believe me, these spoilers will not ruin you watching the show. They are meant to enhance that experience. So if you're sitting there saying, oh my God, is so-and-so going to die? What happened to Ian's family? Did he have a baby? What's up with little Jem? Does he have the gift? Are Claire and Jamie in loving wedded bliss? How about Bree and Roger? What's up with Jocasta? And it's not Duncan Ennis, remember, because the book differs from the television series. It is Murtaugh. So what is up with their relationship? Mr. and Mrs. Bug. Yeah, hello. What about, some of the other characters that are in the story? So this will just give you a leeway into all of that. But as I stated, and as it's written, 100% spoilers. If you have questions, please leave them below in the comments. If you want to clarify anything that I'm stating or add to it, please add that to the comments, because obviously I'm not going to read the book page by page, so there may be things that people want to add in, enhance. If you disagree, if you agree, all of those comments, please leave them below. We just ask that you be respectful, that's all. Also, remember to give us that yummy thumbs up. We appreciate that every single day. Also, here is our card. So please remember, as I said, to subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and leave your comment below. Plus, check out our other videos. We have a lot of different videos on different subjects. If you missed anything when it came to Poldark, we have that entire final season has been spoiled. There are pictures, other bonuses that you will want to check out as well. So without further ado, let's go. So without further ado, here we go. And just to let you know, this is part 2. So there may be a part 3 if I can't get this all done within a certain amount of time. So, let's see, where are we leaving off? So, how does Asdo the kitten get involved in this series? I thought it was so sweet that they had a pet that was not just, not to say just, but it wasn't a dog. It wasn't like, the family sheep or something. It was an actual kitty cat that Jamie had given to Claire as a gift. It was a stray cat, or feral perhaps, that he found in the forest. And the cat anyway in the book is gray. Don't know what it'll be in the series. We have to have some surprises. And I sort of felt as if this signified, you know, almost like an infant in a way. Like Claire, obviously, when Jamie's gone hunting and everyone else is doing their thing, some of the other ladies are having babies. Yes, of course, she has her grandchild, but it's not, you know, her baby bosom child of that particular era, because yes, she has her daughter, but her daughter was brought up in the modern age. So her and Jamie collectively, because their other baby died at birth, you know, in the 1700s, they really didn't have something that was a tiny baby that they raised together. So I sort of felt as if this cat was sort of, and it was a kitten, and now by the time you see it, it'll probably, you know, grow up as a cat, obviously, before the end of this season, definitely. I just sort of felt as if it signified that little missing link. And Jamie receives a letter stating that his militia that he's gotten together has to join with a regiment that Tyron has. Governor Tyron, remember him? And they have a certain date that they have to be there by. And Jamie is, like I talked about in the previous part 1, he follows the Highland tradition of burning a cross, which it was really cool to see, as I stated before, that it's really nicely worded and explained in the book if you have a chance to read it. Or you could win all 8 of my books. As I stated, we're doing a giveaway. Look at the previous videos to see how you can win. And so what happens next is, of course, the militia has to get their stuff together. They do come together. Of course, Claire is going to go as well. And you know, he tells Claire how he remembered seeing this fiery cross when Dougal lit it, because there was going to be this meeting of the clans. So yes, Dougal is mentioned, and you know, that's a little uncomfortable if you remember what happened to him. And after getting their stuff together, the militia does finally set out. He has approximately, in the book, about 40 men, and of course, Miss Dear Claire. And during their travels, they actually, as I stated before, they do meet up with the Beardsley brothers again, and discovers that his name is Josiah. If you remember the first Beardsley brother they met up with originally, they did not know that he has an identical twin. His twin is deaf, aka he cannot hear, but he communicates perfectly. He's, you know, physically able. It's just that he has that, you know, minor defect. And Roger and the rest of the militia are sent ahead of Claire and Jamie, because Claire and Jamie end up going back to the Beardsley house. And they go back there because Josiah wants his brother. He does not want to leave his brother with the family they're with. These, if you remember, these, you know, Josiah is barefoot. The dude is starving. He's not being taken care of at all. And if, you know, we talk about him as if he's a grown man almost. He is a boy. So his twin brother, aka twin, meaning same age, just imagine both of these kids are suffering under the guidance of the people who they are basically adopted by. They're enslaved by, let's just, you know, use the word, that's what happened, and they're abused. So they end up going to it's actually a trading post is where they live, which makes it even worse. What makes it worse is a trading post is overloaded, flooded with goods of every type. So why aren't the kids clothed? Why aren't they warm? Why aren't they fed? Why aren't they being, even their grooming is incredibly poor. They're barefoot, for the love of God. These people have furs. When they go into the cabin, into the trading post, Claire and Jamie are mortified almost by the amount of goods that are in this place and around it, because it is so stuffed they can barely get through. So just think, hoarders, that's basically how it's being described. And so, they're also having these thoughts of, why are these boys being kept this way? I know I can't stop talking about that because I hate people that abuse children. I don't care if they're fictional or real. It just, stirs up something in me for various reasons. So they actually find this lady named Fanny, and her husband's name is Aaron. And Aaron has been injured. He basically injured and had a stroke. He is not a good fellow. So the fact that these things happen to him are really not the worst things in the world. He's a wife beater, and I'm pretty sure that is the reason why the boys are kept so horrifically. And Fanny decided when he had the stroke that she was not going to go for help. So she let him languish for who knows how long until the Frasers came along, to the point that he is basically dying. Like, he doesn't have long to live, and eventually he does die. He begs, Jamie to finish the job, or euthanize him, if you will. And eventually he is euthanized. So if you think about Claire's history, there's a lot of euthanization going on from the beginning of the Outlander series. And now Jamie has taken part in it as well. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But after begging him, like I said, he does make his transition, hopefully into hell. And instantly, almost, Fanny Beardsley disappears. In the middle of the night, she's just gone. And no one knows where she is. We find out later, of course, they do locate her. And she travels with him a bit and meets up with the rest of the militia. And when they meet up with the rest of the militia, there's some activity going on one night with her, and no one understands what's happening. But soon, Jamie and Claire realize that she is pregnant and she has a baby. For whatever reason, no one realized that she was pregnant, but she was. And this time, right after having this baby, her newborn daughter, she leaves and they can't find her anywhere and they have to move on. So they take the infant and they move on. Something curious about the baby is half black and half white. So, and I don't know if they're going to use the word mulatto during the television series, but that may be a phrase that you hear for a mixed race child. So Roger and Fergus arrive in this town named Brownsville, and they're immediately fired upon by the residents of Brownsville who want to kill Isaiah Morton. So yes, another character. He's a member of their militia, which is why this is happening, and he supposedly dishonored this lady. Her name is Alicia, and the thing is, they were in love, and I mean, if it happened today in the year 2020, no one would even blink an eye. But of course, way back in the 1700s, the smallest thing, or even the thought of impropriety, could be conceived as dishonoring a lady or even a family or someone else, but definitely a woman. And, because she's now basically damaged goods and no one will ever want her. And even if this guy wants to marry her, there could be problems. Turns out there's a huge problem. He is already married to someone else. That is not good. So there's a lot of going ons with that. Another thing that happens is, let me see. And I'm telling you, I'm skipping so many parts because I could go on and on with this. But eventually, there are some problems that do occur, especially militia-wise. But Governor Tyron sends a note, which Jamie receives, telling him that they are disbanding the militia. Is no longer necessary, and of course the Frasers can return home. But in the meantime, Roger has gone ahead because he's surveying land and things like that. Plus there's a thought that he could go ahead and talk to the people that supposedly caused the problems in Brownsville. And, he goes to talk to them. And of course, it's poor Roger, so that he runs into folly, as he seems to commonly. And anytime he runs into folly, it seems as if, my God, does this poor guy suffer drastically, especially for someone who knows about the past. And of course, he knows about the future. You would think that he would use some of those skills so that he wouldn't run into these situations where they're near death for him, like so often. But unfortunately, he does have another one coming up. And Jamie has an issue coming up as well. So let me just get to Roger. So I'll just quickly summarize that Roger runs into the guys that they were supposed to, have a war with, but thankfully that was called off. Of course, the guys he's talking to, he's trying to tell them, you don't want to do this. We have all this ammunition. All this stuff is going to happen. There's another complete army by the English. It goes on and on and on. And in the meantime, he meets up with this lady that he met on the Gloriana, which is a ship that he took over from Scotland to America. And he helped her with her baby, and that's the only reason her and the infant, her particular baby, survived the journey. And also it gave Roger a friend, to be honest, on this lonely, crazy voyage. And when he sees her, he actually does something that we would do today in the year 2020. He gives her a hug, gives her a little peck, aka a wee little kiss. And that is witnessed, unfortunately, by some of the guys that they were supposed to have this, knockout, drag out fight with. And they are livid. And this causes Roger to get beaten up. It just causes a whole crazy situation to go on. And it gets to the point where they were going to kill him. And this lady is married, and she had to remind her husband, this is the guy that helped me and our child get here to America and not die. Like, we were totally dying, and he helped us. And so the fact that the kiss happened is all that this guy could think about, and the hug. And he's like, okay, I promise I won't do anything to him. My guys won't do anything to him. But what they end up doing is handing Roger over to Governor Tyron's folks. They don't know who Roger is. And plus, they took away this badge that is sort of like a calling card nowadays, or credential that we would use nowadays to identify ourselves if we were part of a militia or an army. They took that away, and when they took it away any identity that he had to identify him as one of Jamie's soldiers, if you will. And so, and plus he's, gagged and bound and whatever. So when they hand him over, they tell Governor Tyrant's fellow that Roger is one of the instigators that they've been looking for. This guy did all these horrible things, which are really the things that they did. And so Roger, as well as a group of other people, and I mean, it's like 4 or 5 other people, ended up getting hung by the neck until dead. Yes, they hung Roger. So the woman who he saved on the ship knew that her husband was not going, that he would find a way around her words. She didn't think he would lie, but she knew that something would happen. She didn't know what. So while they were bringing Roger to Governor Tyrant's fellows, she runs as fast as she can via horse. I don't know how she got there, but she goes to Jamie's group, makes them aware of what's happening and that Roger is going to be killed. And they immediately, including Bree. Now, Bree has shown up in the picture, her little sassy butt. And, they all dash off to where they know Governor Tyrant is. And Roger is hanging when they get there. Like, he's kicked off the stool. He's, the kicking has stopped. He's just hanging. He's dead. And so they run over. They, get him down, unrope him. And Claire starts, trying to work her magic to see if there's any little speck of life. Luckily, there is. However, his recovery takes a very, 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 and did I say very long time. His voice, if you recall, he has this beautiful singing voice, this melodious speaking voice, that completely changes after this incident. Also, there is some science and some engineering that has to take place in order to save his life, and those are skills that were learned by Bree. So yes, Bree is in the picture as far as bringing some of her engineering that she went to college for into the past. And of course, Claire is using her medical knowledge that she learned in the future, bringing it to the past, and coupling those two sides together. They are going to be able to save Roger's life and invent a very interesting version of a modern day instrument. I won't tell you a lot about that because it's so, I hope that they put plenty of detail into the television series about it. If they do it in I'm going to say 5 minutes of the they can cover what this invention in about 5 minutes. I hope that, and I'm saying that because I hope that, they actually do add that to the television story because I think it is important and I think it's super cool how they do what they did using the tools and the little its and bits and bobs that they have in the years, in the 1700s. So, thankfully, like I said, Roger, it's going to take him a long time to recover, but eventually he gets to a certain point of recovery. But in the meantime, let me see if I had anything I wanted to add to that. Yeah, so in the meantime, I'm going to go into something about Jamie. So Jamie also ends up having a major incident that occurs. So Roger gets well enough. As I said, time will pass. I am sure that will be several episodes before they have him well enough to go on a buffalo hunt. So yes, Roger ends up going on a buffalo hunt with Jamie. The Beardsley brothers are amazing hunters. They just have this hunting party that they put together with people from the Ridge. And so while they're out hunting, Jamie ends up stepping on a snake. And the snake, unfortunately, is poisonous. My assumption, because of where I live in New England, is it is probably a rattlesnake. Not sure what type of snake they're going to use in the series. It could be a water moccasin, cottonmouth. You know, we have a lot of poisonous snakes that they can choose from. And now it is Roger's turn to finally use some of his knowledge from the future and bring it into the past to help save Jamie's life. Without Roger knowing how to do modern day first aid, Jamie would have died within probably a couple of hours or less. Or at least he would have been so permanently damaged that there would have been nothing they could have done to save his life at all. But because Roger used some modern knowledge and common sense finally, he's able to save Jamie's life. However, obviously, he knows he needs more treatment because first aid is temporary. And he does not tell Jamie that, but you know, Jamie, he's a man, you know, 100% all the way, naked or not. And so his thing is, I want that snake. Like, before we leave here, I want that snake. So Roger actually finds the snake, and they end up cooking the snake and eating it. I just had to add that because I thought that was like such a thing that would make sense for this story. So Claire has to finally get it. She's like basically forced, if you will, into getting a better version of her penicillin created. Because if you recall, in the past, she created a version of penicillin. But now she has to create something that is cleaner, something that she could put directly, not because what she does for treatment most of the time is folks either ingest it through a soup or a broth, or she might actually pour it into a wound. Now what she needs to do is find something that she can use this special invention for, that her daughter created, to get it into the bloodstream. So that's a big clue right there. Come on, guys. And so this all happens, and of course, you know, they're probably going to play it on television as one of those like mad dashes to the finish line. He's almost not going to make it. Then they create this whole situation and solution, and he gets the medication he needs. And yes, Jamie survives. He might end up having a permanent limp. Not anything that's grossly pronounced, but something that, you know, might be a wee bit noticeable. And I do think that's part of, like, you know, to slow him down a little bit, you know, add a little bit of that aging aspect to it, that you are physically going to see them looking a bit older as the story goes on this season. So that's something to warn you about. They are not going to look like super senior citizens who are 80 years old. And even if they did, they'd be the most handsome and beautiful 80-year-olds in the world. But they are going to, you know, be in their 50s, you know, late 40s. There's going to be an aging that takes place. So that's just something for you to look out for. And also, let's see what else. Oh, there's another thing that happens that I'm going to get into when I create part 3 of this for you. So I am going to end here so this doesn't go too long. So I have part 1. Part 2 now is created, and there will be a part 3. And like I said, I'm trying to, in these 3 or 4 pieces, summarize every single thing before the new season starts in about 10 days. So thank you, or actually in about 7 days at this point. So thank you for tuning in to the Velvet Lounge Life. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and also watch our video, and I will attach a link to the, you know, part 1 of this, as well as to how you could win items that I have from Outlander, as well as my 8-book series. You're going to be able to have a chance to win that easily, simply by subscribing, commenting, giving us a thumbs up, sharing the videos. So thank you so much. Remember that your health is your wealth, and without your health, you have nothing. So please, please, please take care of yourselves.